Trial of the Chicago 7 is a new drama that recently just released on Netflix this past Friday, written and directed by Aaron Sorkin. If you don't know who Aaron Sorkin is, this is a guy who wrote A Few Good Men, Charlie Wilson's War. He won an Oscar for his screenplay for The Social Network, which came out in 2010. He also, I think, directed Molly's Game, which also was up for Best Screenplay. The ensemble cast in this movie is crazy. You have Mark Rylance, Sacha Baron Cohen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, you have Eddie Redmayne, you have Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, a host of other terrific actors and actresses in supporting roles. So what this movie actually is about, the infamous 1969 trial about 7 defendants who were charged by the government with conspiracy related to the Democratic National Convention that took place a few months earlier in 1968. 1968, at the Democratic National Convention, there were huge protests and a huge riot broke out. And so this movie deals with the government trying to prove, or essentially trying to prosecute, these 7 individuals with starting or inciting a riot. This film follows the trial and the fallout and everything that happened from different perspectives, and the characters trying to fight back against the government trying to prosecute them. I'll be honest, I knew of this trial, but I didn't know like the nuances, the specifics, the ups and downs, ins and outs of the whole thing. I just knew that it was a trial that happened. Normally in your life, if you have a bunch of old people that have been around you and have talked about a bunch of old stuff that have happened in the past, you get some sense of the mass amount of history that these people have dealt with. I mean, for Christ's sake, they didn't have cell phones back in the day. They used to communicate with pigeons and letters and stuff like that. I mean, they didn't have horsepower engine. They had horse-drawn carriages. It was rough for them back in like the, 70s and 80s and stuff like that. Love you old people, but putting that aside, like I said, I knew of this story. I didn't know about it necessarily, so I'm glad that this film came out because I definitely feel a lot more educated and enlightened on this process. Even though maybe the film may have taken some liberties as far as historically, I feel like most of what this movie covers is accurate to the actual event. While this ensemble is great, and while there are a lot of people that deserve a lot of credit for this film, I do think that Aaron Sorkin is the star here, not only writing it, but directing it, and directing it masterfully. I don't know what it is about Aaron Sorkin and his writing, but this guy is just one of the great writers, man. He just has a way of getting you captivated, getting you hooked onto the dialogue and the characters in his films. The way he writes the characters to be full, 3-dimensional, flawed, authentic, real human beings, that is what draws you in. But also you look at the conversations that these characters have, the interactions that they have with other people. It's just very fascinating and captivating stuff. It's dialogue that is fast and snappy, but it's also stuff that feels like it was written by an intelligent human being. Definitely feels like it's not holding your hand, but at the same time paints a vivid picture of what the characters are going through and what they're trying to say to the audience. I don't know if the 2021 Oscars are going to be around at the rate that COVID-19 is basically taking everything away from us, but definitely if it is, I feel like Best Screenplay should be up for this movie. Should be nominated for Best Editing too, because this is one of the best edited films I've seen in 2020 as well. Smooth cuts, the smooth transitions between scenes, the way that everything about this story and the camera work just flows and connects together. The interesting storytelling technique where they have the walk and talk approach. The walk and talk approach is essentially where characters are talking really fast and they're in a scene and the camera is following them with minimal cuts, and then maybe there will be people that come in and out of the conversation as you go. That's called walk and talk. Aaron Sorkin has definitely applied this technique to some of the other films that he's worked on, and here he does it to masterful execution. Actually a pretty ingenious way to keep people interested in the dialogue and the people telling this story without it feeling too much like excessive monologue or whatever, because now you'll have something funny or something interesting thrown in there to make people laugh and really get them wanting to hear more. Definitely the reason why Luis, or whatever his name is from Ant-Man, is like one of the greatest storytellers in Marvel history. It's not about what he's saying necessarily, it's about how he's presenting it. Speaking of presentation, I gotta single out all of these performers in this movie. Aaron Sorkin gets the absolute best out of everyone here. I feel like a lot of different actors in this movie should be also up for an Oscar nomination. Mark Rylance is great. He's also won an Oscar before. Eddie Redmayne is terrific in this film. I think he's won an Oscar before too. Joseph Gordon-Levitt does tremendous work here as a prosecutor who's kind of conflicted about the way that things are going on. Yahya Abdul-Mateen, there is such raw emotion and power in his performance. He's actually not even in the movie as much as I thought he would be, but he was tremendous. Give this man his flowers. He should get an Oscar too. This is without a doubt one of my favorite film experiences of the year. in a year that has tried to take the film experience away from me, or at least change the way that I view it. I think the biggest impression that this film left on me was the fact that its purpose and its point is so powerful and so poignant. I mean, I feel like Aaron Sorkin is basically taking a mirror and pointing it back at the world, pointing it back at America, making America look at its history, look at her sins through the eyes of other people. There's definitely huge themes in this movie about anti-establishment, anti-government, but also moral and ethical dilemmas that plague us to this day, and a lot of racial injustice as well in this movie that still plagues us today. It's the perfect story presented in the perfect way at the perfect time for all the stuff that America and the world in general is dealing with at this moment. I had to really reach deep to find stuff that I didn't like about this film because it's paced good. I wasn't that bored. I suppose I could argue that there are some high-profile actors in this film that I wish had bigger roles. Like I said, Yahya, he's in the movie, but he's actually not in the movie as much as I wanted him to be. While there is a lot of great character work and a great juggling act by Aaron Sorkin going back and forth between all these people and giving you enough about them to get you interested, I don't know, maybe you could argue that we could have gotten a little bit more insight into their lives during the course of this trial. I don't know. Trial of the Chicago 7 is one of the best written, best edited, best paced, and well-acted films that I have seen in all of 2020. Aaron Sorkin is definitely going to be getting his flowers sooner or later. Trial of the Chicago 7 was a tremendous experience for me, and it is getting the highest praise that I can offer. Superman Prime. Tell me, have you seen this film? What did you think about it? Or what do you know about the trial that took place in 1969 that might make it a little bit different than what you saw in the movie? Let me know in the comment section down below. Stay tuned for more videos. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.